action fanatics, welcome to another edition of the Bulletproof podcast. I am your host, Chris the Brain. Joining me once again, it is the Toyman, Chris DePetrillo.
Hello, hello. Welcome back, Bulletproof podcast listeners.
And let's also welcome back, after serving a 1-week suspension from the show, Ryan Campbell.
I will try to be on my best behavior.
Try as you will. Let's see if it happens. But before we get into our topic of discussion on this episode, let's talk about bulletproofaction.com, because as this drops, both of you would have already seen the brand new Captain America movie. I know, Ryan, you'll be the one officially covering it, but I know you're both looking forward to this film.
Yeah, some early reviews seem to be positive, other than IGN, which they can't review anything anyway. But yeah, it'll be interesting. There seems to be some changes. It does not have the traditional fanfare Marvel opening, which is like the first time they haven't done that, so that's interesting. So and from what it sounds like, this kind of finally kind of sets the vision of where we're going. So I'm excited.
I've seen articles stating that it's like an unofficial sequel to the 2008 Hulk, the Edward Norton Hulk, which was fantastic. I mean, I'm a huge Hulk mark, so I mean, Red Hulk is probably a bigger draw than Captain America is for this one. So I'm interested in seeing where the story goes based on the Hulk lore that we've gotten so far.
Yeah, that, and it finally follows up on some of the Eternal stuff from years ago. So interesting, with a little bit of Winter Soldier espionage sprinkled in.
So there you go, folks. If you too are interested, as Ryan and the Toyman are, check out Ryan's review on bulletproofaction.com. And Toyman, as this drops, you would have been in all your glory, maybe shed some tears, because Cobra Kai has come to a close.
All My Glory of Love?
Yes, sir.
Yep, it's yeah, as you listen to this, folks, Cobra Kai would have come and gone with the final batch of episodes, but as we record this, it is actually the night
Right, we're
before,
the eve
so
of it.
haven't seen anything yet. Yeah, I am anticipating it. I am looking forward to it. I'm sure there's going to be some emotions. And for those who don't know, I think I've mentioned this previously, but every time Cobra Kai drops, I do a triple watch and I watch it immediately because I'm that big of a fan. I cannot wait. But it's also a family show. Everybody around here loves it, especially my son. So over the weekend, we'll be enjoying it as a family. And then, you know, in those viewings, I'll put together my notes, but then I'll do another rewatch as I'm compiling the review because you will be getting a No Surrender Cinema for the grand finale of a pretty damn epic series that I love with all my heart.
Triple distilled. You gotta like that.
He's out of control. He is out of control. I will have a brand, when this drops, there'll be a brand new post from our friends at Well Go USA. It's a brand new movie called Jade, and I haven't watched it yet, but I'm going to get to it, and that's why there'll be a review of it. Makes sense, doesn't it? It's got Mark Dacascos, so I'm in.
No David Caruso.
No David Caruso, but there is a Mickey Rourke sighting in here, so we've got that going on. So yeah, you know, and as I always say, there's always something going on bulletproofaction.com. Last week, as this drops, the world's most dangerous grocery stores.
Wonderful thumbnail.
Thank you very much.
You knew that had to be. What else could be?
It had to be, exactly. Coming up this week, little Shaw Brothers action with the Avenging Eagle. Oh, Brain Smasher, a love story. You did that one for Valentine's Day. So there's been a lot going on. I've been busy. The Recruit, I talked about that, which I binged through that.
You were also out on the town recently. I guess that might have been last week before when I was on the show. But yeah, you got out to a premiere, walked the red carpet, shook some hands.
I was at a theater with about 4 other people in it. So I did not check the box office results for Love Hurts, but I'm guessing the wallet hurts for whoever paid for that movie. Maybe not. Maybe it did well and I just missed it, but that early Thursday night screening did not.
Did it seem like it cost a
no,
decent amount?
I probably did not. So I mean, they'll probably be fine, but
I'm sure word of mouth might boost it on streaming. Yeah. But who knows? I mean, look at some of the movies that were great in 2024. We just talked about The Fall Guy recently. That was a great movie, but that one fizzled out, and that one had Ryan
And
Gosling
you
in the
know
lead
what?
one.
I was thinking about The Fall Guy. That should have been released at Valentine's Day. That had more.
Yeah, that
That
would be
had
Excellent
nice.
more
point.
romance
Yeah,
to
a
me
whole
than frickin' Love
plot.
Hurts.
Well, PL did, Jonathan London did warn you about the
He
love
did.
story
He did.
of
And
that
I mean,
film.
again, I wasn't
Few weeks ago.
expecting nor was I like, ooh, I really want this romance. But it just, yeah, it felt shoehorned and it didn't feel right. But, it was for the.
Well, at least it
It,
got released. They didn't write it off
it
as a
did.
tax
And it was
break.
the fight and the action, exactly what I was hoping would be. It was excellent. Great to see Short Round still doing his thing all these decades later. Oh, Shorty.
Yeah, what a week of reviews we have. Short Round in a new action movie, Cobra Kai, Marvel superheroes.
Yeah.
We're talking about Death Wish 2 tonight. I mean, this is like a very nostalgia-fueled week at Bulletproof
Oh,
Action. But you know what? Those are the best weeks.
oh, well, we'll see what the numbers say. But from personal enjoyment, I understand what you're saying. So, yeah, bulletproofaction.com. I've said it 19,000 times in about 5 minutes. All right, let's get into something I'm very excited to talk about. We've been talking about a lot of things but we're going back to basics with this one because we are.
Founding
Yeah,
Fathers,
I mean, this is like the foundation of Bulletproof Action and Bulletproof Podcasts.
Council of Elders type shit
This
right here.
is a movie that fits in that description of just laying the groundwork for this whole thing we're doing even existing. I'm talking about Death Wish 2, released on February 19th, 1982. So we're right ahead of its anniversary. Directed by Michael Winner, much like the original Death Wish. Starring Charles Bronson, much like the original Death Wish. And Chris, I know we kind of mentioned it last week. This is really the truest sequel of all the sequels into the Death Wish series.
Yeah, this one is, I wouldn't say it picks up where it left off, but the effects of what happened in Death Wish 1 seeg into where we're at with Death Wish 2. And, we've spoken proudly and with great praise for Death Wish 3 and the just sheer amount of violence, the 80s excess that it brings. But this was a nice bridge between the original kind of more dramatic tone set by the first one, and the violence and the action really gets elevated here in the second one.
Death Wish 2 walked so Death Wish 3 could run. It's essentially what we're
Yeah,
saying.
that is an excellent way of putting it, Ryan Campbell.
So the movie opens, we get aerial footage of Los Angeles, the sounds of Jimmy Page, who happened to be the neighbor of Michael Winner. And we hear Jerry Nichols' crime report on KABC Radio.
Jerry
She's
Nichols, played by Charles Bronson's
That's
actual
right,
wife.
Jill Ireland.
which may be
Jill
why she manages to be the only, maybe one of the most successful significant others of a Charles Bronson character in movie
Right,
history.
You know what? It's hilarious that you said that because I actually had that as a note to bring up as well. So kudos to you.
She
But
don't
I
even get
wonder if
as
that
much
was
as
in.
bumping into him, and she stays away from
Yeah.
all of it.
I wonder if that was in her
I'm
contract.
pretty
Like,
sure it was.
hey,
She
I'll do
was.
the movie, but Jill
Yep,
can't die.
I'm pretty sure it was from reading the Bronson's Loose books and the Canon Film Guide. I'm one of those two or both have told me that yeah, she did not want to play a character who died, so she didn't.
You could argue by the end of this thing, she's the one taking lives.
So then we see our man Paul Kersey again, Charles Bronson. He's at his LA home, chatting with his housekeeper Rosaria, and waiting for Jerry to come pick him up. They have a whole day planned. They're making a day of it because
I just love their relationship. They just kind of like this very kind of casual, middle-aged relationship where they just kind of like go do shit and then just go back and then go pick her up for dinner again in a couple hours. It's just very relaxed, kind of cool LA vibe. I'm digging it.
yeah.
It was the actual Charles Bronson, Jill Ireland courtship. We were witnessing it on film.
So their day is going to involve going to pick up Paul's daughter, and again, this is not his daughter Carol, who was in the original film, and was a victim of a rape and violence, and kind of went into this catatonic state. It's not the same actress. This time, Carol's played by Robin Sherwood, but we're picking up. She picks up the baton there, and she's in a mental institution, and they go to pick her up and basically check her out for the day. Um, Paul does talk to the doctor briefly, and he's, oh yeah, she's saying a few words every week, and that's Kersey's got to wonder, like, that's not a whole lot. I mean, it's been years now. Is she ever going to be her normal self again? And well, we know, Ryan Campbell, that she won't.
Yeah, there's something to be said about the way the movie and the series up until this point, we kind of throw it out the window when we moved to 3, but the way it kind of deals with trauma and coping and like disassociation, like there's some the mind of a killer and capital punishment. Like the movie asks a lot of questions. It doesn't dive full on into a lot of them, but you can tell like there's some thought going into some of the ways that things kind of develop. And Carol's
There's that psychological aspect to it.
Yeah, there's a reason behind a lot of the things that are happening, even though it may not seem that way on the surface. But Carol definitely represents that.
And I think that goes back to what Chris is saying, how we still have some of that tie-in to the drama that the original one was, where it's not all just action, 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 although there's a lot of that about to happen. So we go to this day out in LA. There's kites in the air. There's a mariachi band playing. There's street vendors peddling their wares, including crystal items, when Carol is fascinated by a crystal cat.
Hey, that's that California sunshine refracting inside that crystal. Yeah, I can see.
And Paul is interested in ice cream. So he excuses himself, and while Carol...
I love the way they say ice cream. It's like ice cream.
Bronson could deliver a line like nobody's business.
It's got that the emphasis on that.
So as he heads over to the ice cream man, there's these 5 punks, and they're giving Kersey the stink eye. And when he pulls his wallet out, as one would do, as they are expected to exchange money for ice cream, the punks show up, just all like bum rush him, basically. One of them gets the wallet. It's 5-on-1. Kersey chases after Jiver, and they get into the little alley scuffle. But unfortunately, Jiver isn't the one who took his wallet, so he is walletless, and the other guys, who knows where the hell they ran off to.
Yeah, he only had a 1 in 5 shot, and unfortunately, he does survive though, and he manages to keep his members only jacket pretty clean to go back to the party with his family and just kind of play it off like nothing happened.
And when you say his members only jacket, that is very accurate as well, is because one of the things that is always in Bronson's contract is he gets to keep the wardrobe from his movies.
That's fantastic. That's thinking ahead.
So yeah,
that's why he had to stop doing westerns and like playing in
right,
American,
because he wasn't going to be...
wardrobe was starting to look kind of weird.
Yeah, he was going to walk
closet full of chaps. He was done with it.
Or the Shadows Land loincloth wasn't something he could wear that often.
That's right. You can't wear that to the LA park to get ice cream.
No, maybe in the bedroom with Jill Ireland.
I could in LA, actually. That might be overdressed in LA on the beach. Maybe, I don't know.
Next time we have one of the Londons on, we'll have to ask. So Paul Kersey is like, oh, he has to go back to Jerry and be like, oh, you know what? I forgot my wallet. And Jerry's like, she knows that's not probably right, but whatever. She'll treat to the ice cream. She's a working lady. Next stop, they go to Paul's friend with a boat. And Paul and Carol...
Everyone should have a friend with a boat.
Should, but not...
Don't own a boat. Have a friend with a boat. That's how it works.
So they go out, do a little sailing, maybe listen to some yacht rock while they're out there. Maybe.
Do we know that they actually go out on the boat? Is that established?
Yeah, they're out there.
Okay. I know that they like hang out at the dock.
No, they show a scene of them. They're on the water. They're out on the water.
Okay.
Yeah, Paul and Carol are, but that's when they separate from Jerry.
That may only be in the Blu-ray cut, and we're going to get to that about the differences in the cuts of these films. Some foreshadowing.
Believe it. Jerry has to go back to work. She's got an important interview with the senator. He'll only be in town for a short time, so you better not waste the opportunity. Anyway, but she'll meet up with Paul and Carol later at their place for dinner. Sounds good. Now, we have established that Paul Kersey did not get his wallet back. The thugs have his wallet, and if you have someone's wallet, as long as they are conscientious as keep up with what they're supposed to do, you know their address.
It doesn't help that on the outside of his door, it literally just says Paul Kersey.
That was a thing to do back in the day.
Was that things people did? Was just put their
People were
name on the
proud.
outside of their
I
house?
mean, he's the vigilante, though. He could have like a sign that says "Welcome Criminals."
You're right. But yeah, they know
Just
they
bait
know
him in
where he
there.
lives, and they're going to return his wallet. Ha ha ha. No, they're not doing that. Meanwhile, poor Rosario's inside. She's finishing up dinner prep. It's like, oh, I've got some time before they get here. Let me,
She just wants to enjoy her Spanish soap operas.
telenovelas are on. Let me go give it
That's
a
right.
look. And as soon as she sits down, that goddamn doorbell rings. And she asks through the door, oh, who is there? Oh, it's a delivery for Mr. Kersey. She peeks out the window and just like she has seen a ghoul. It is Stomper. And he's there. And then she hears the sound of breaking glass because the other four guys, Jiver, Punk Cut, Nirvana, and Cutter.
Dreadnoughts?
What a crew. What a crew.
Cutter, played by Larry Fishburne, kind of continuing the tradition from the original movie where somebody who's one of these punks goes on to be a big star, Chris.
Yes, and did you also know who Nirvana is? And I'm not talking about the great band, one of my favorite bands of all time.
Thomas Duffy?
Did you do your research on that one? Thomas Duffy.
What was he in? I'm probably sure I've looked this up at some point in the 9,000 times I've watched this, but I'm drawing a blank currently.
Well, he was in Jurassic Park: The Lost World.
Thomas Duffy was? Did he play a velociraptor?
Yes, he was. He was Dr. Burke in Jurassic Park: The Lost World, but probably most
I don't watch
famously
those
for
movies.
our generation. Well, but I'm going to go back to a great movie, something that's probably more in my wheelhouse than yours, but
Oh
you'll get the
boy.
reference. But he played James Vanderbeek's father, in the famous "I Don't Want Your Life" scene in Varsity Blues.
I don't want your life.
I've seen that movie once, but
There
I
you
would
go.
never have made that connection. Well, there you go. That's why that's why we do these things. So yeah, they come in through the back door, and then we get to the worst part of watching any Death Wish movie, especially if Michael Winner is the director, because we get a rape scene. I mean, all five of these guys, to just it's bad. And you can understand to the point like we have to establish that these people are awful human beings, so when they get murdered later, you're cheering for it. But and again, to what Ryan was saying, depending on what cut you're watching, it gets even worse.
Yeah, it was an ongoing dialogue, I guess, between the two of us whenever it comes on TV or it's on a streaming service, which version it is, because there is an even extra, just visceral cut of it out there. But yeah, the movie, and I guess the series just tries to just really sell home, but they really seem to do it with the rape scenes. It's just making them kind of extra, kind of hard to watch. And I don't know, there's something there as to what they're trying to say with that, but it definitely is kind of it's unsettling for sure.
I mean, that seemed to be a theme of, not just grindhouse cinema at the time, but that like mid 70s to early 80s type of exploitation feel. Because you had films like the original Last House on the Left or I Spit on Your Grave. They really just, I don't want to say glorified rape because that's goddamn terrible to say, but it really does sensationalize it at the expense of the heroes getting their revenge, the villains getting their comeuppance. But rape was a really a pretty heavy plot device at that time.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there, and that there's a fine line, and with violence, it's whatever. People kind of draw that line wherever they want to with violence, but for something like that, of the line of being, really selling the point and kind of making it to the heart and to the soul of the movie, and just being like, man, does this guy really think about this kind of stuff way too much? Like that, like it's a hard line to draw, and the movie pushes that line right to the edge.
Yeah, it certainly does. So Paul and Carol end up coming home. Obviously, they have no idea the horrors that have been happening inside their home. Paul's like, oh, let's see what Rosario has cooked up for us. And then they get inside. Oh, next thing you know, he's got 2 thugs on one side, 3 thugs on the other, and they just go after him. He tries to fight, but the numbers game and the element of surprise. Next thing you know, our man Kersey is knocked out. We see Rosaria trying desperately to get to the telephone to call the cops. She gets whacked by Nirvana and she's dead. And then they're like, well, we've got this girl now. We got to take her because Ryan Campbell.
She could finger them all.
Finger them all.
She could. And I feel like this is a point that it's really important and it needs to be reiterated in the very next scene right away.
She can finger all these guys. Chris, do you have anything to say about that?
I mean, this is a pretty creepy crew. I'm sure they probably all want their rear ends to be used like bowling balls with their hands, but luckily we don't see that. And I don't think that's in the Blu-ray, the alternate version, the uncut, the R-rated. There is no deleted scene of that. That's just me making a funny. But unfortunately, she's about to relive some traumatic experiences.
Yeah, she could check their oil on her own time. Now, anyway, we do see Jerry wrapping up her interview with Senator McLean. And then we go to the lair. We see the van parked out by this like warehouse type area. There's a nice iron fence around the area.
It's a very nice fence. Some may say it's dangerous, but I think it's quite
very solid.
World's most dangerous fences.
So she's there, and okay, what are we gonna do with this? But remember,
I think it's important to remember that she can, and she probably would finger them all.
But she's, but Punkut's like, you're strange. At least I think that I have maybe he doesn't say that in all the versions, but the version I have, which was the longer Blu-ray version, he's like, oh, you're strange. And then his idea is, again, because we didn't have enough of this moments ago, we get another freaking rape scene.
And I would argue this one's almost, even in the normal cut, which is much quicker and less graphic, I would say it's more unsettling, but just in the way that like Carol just disassociates the entire time and like
that whole catatonic stare.
Yeah, she just kind of like shuts it off, and then when it's over, it just kind of like pulls her skirt back down, and then we're gonna get to it. But like that is almost to me more unsettling than the previous one.
That's how she got to the state she's in. This has happened to her before, and it's why is this happening to this poor woman?
It was very similar to what they did. I wonder if it was a bit of inspiration, but a movie that you and I have both seen recently, but in Snake Eater 3, the girl that got passed around by the biker gang, how she's just kind of so traumatized by it, she's just, lays there and allows herself to get taken again and again.
Yeah, like at a certain point, your mind can't take that anymore and just shuts off, and that's
Well, Punkut, he has his time with Carol, and Jiver's watching the whole. I mean, they're all watching, which I think also makes it extra creepy that they're all just kind of quietly watching this go on, and then Jiver's like,
even they're kind of thrown off at first, which is. Just shows even how unsettled it is they're even kind of like first like, should we be doing this, guys?
Like, she's not even aware of what's going on. So Jiver then is anxiously waiting his turn. So when Punkut's done, he's ready to go, but Carol, she gets up, she makes a run for it. The problem is she's on a second story floor and she jumps through.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of movies though. There's like a pile of boxes or like there's a dumpster with like a mattress in it, and she'll be fine. Something's always down there to land on.
Well, not this time. The only thing that was down to land on was that beautiful iron fence we saw as she impales herself on it, and she is DEAD dead. In the movie.
Yeah, I think the other night when you texted me when you were watching the movie, but I said something like Iron Gate will get you every time.
It will.
Or something
surely
similar.
Will.
And just the way that the shot just lingers on that moment for a good few seconds with like no score that just sits on that shot. It's actually, I mean, it's beautifully shot in like the darkness and just that one street light kind of casting a cone of glow. Like it's a heck of a shot.
Depending on what version you'll get the far shot, but the Blu-ray's got where you also get like more of the up close shot. At this point, Jerry has arrived at Paul's house and she's trying to get in. There's something wrong with the door, probably from getting kicked in and slammed shut and all this. And she cannot open the door, so she's not pounding on the door. She's ringing the doorbell, calling for Paul or Pool, and that wakes him up. And he's like, "Oh, groggy, I'm Bronson, I'm groggy." And he opens the door. He's all disheveled. Jerry's like, "What the hell happened to you?" And then they turn and they see dead, naked Rosaria, and Jerry like throws up in her mouth.
Yeah, that's gross.
It is. And then next thing you know, yes,
but his members only jacket's fine. It's good.
The quality material. Just total police scene is next. There's cops everywhere. There's flashing lights outside. Guys inside dusting for prints. We meet Inspector Mankiewicz, who's going to be in charge of this. He's asking Paul some questions, and Paul is not the most helpful witness. And Mankiewicz brings up, "Hey, we checked the computer. The same thing happened in New York." "Yeah, it sure did. And the cops had descriptions and nothing happened. And fuck you, basically." He does give.
I love the idea of a pre-Google age. We checked the computer. Like,
yeah, it was like a special thing. Like, we have this device.
It's
we
a
looked it up.
Right. They did.
It's an entire room you have to go stand into the middle
and
of.
A dot matrix printout comes
out.
Right. They did recover the crystal cat. So that's good.
Whew. Bullet dodged.
Jerry's like, "You know what? They're going to be here all night. Why don't we go back to my place and get some rest?" And then, "Whoa, Mr. Kersey, we've got news about Carol." And there we are at the morgue to identify Carol's body. Paul Kersey obviously grieving. He's not sleeping. We cut to the funeral scene and we meet his friend Elliot from KABC Radio, and he has lent Paul his log cabin.
What a solid guy.
And Bronson hits his line, "Thanks for the use of your cabin."
Wonderful.
And then we get to see a brief little montage of.
I thought we should all go rent a cabin or borrow one from a friend and record this podcast, but apparently it wasn't in the BPA budget.
We need a friend with a cabin and a boat.
A boat, yes.
We have no friends.
No, with the revenue coming in, we can build a Lincoln log cabin.
Are you sure? How much are Lincoln logs?
I don't know.
I don't know.
If they're anything like Legos nowadays.
Lincoln logs? Is that still a thing? Did I just date myself with that reference too?
You probably have to get them off eBay, in which case they'll be
vintage.
Expensive.
Yeah, because
let's see. Let's see if Lincoln logs.
Because I'm going to tell you, if it's more than $5, it's beyond what we got in advertising money.
I'm sure there's like some generic version.
Good Lord.
Yes.
Lincoln logs.
Are they like officially branded? Like as a brand, Lincoln Logs is still a thing. I know like there's generic, just logs you can get like Dollar Tree.
Yeah, we'd have to go to.
Yeah, no, there's actual Lincoln logs, 327 pieces in a bucket, sold by Amazon.com for $107.28.
No, we can't do that.
We could probably get an Airbnb for a night cheaper than that.
Listen, this economy is out of control. I endorse you to find knockoff Lincoln logs or just buy them at a yard sale or off eBay, soak them in Lysol for a week, and then let your kids play with them.
Yeah. I never had Lincoln logs. I know my cousin had Lincoln logs, but I don't think I ever had them. I had Legos, but not Lincoln logs. So yeah, we're going to need a lot more listeners if we're going to buy Lincoln logs because, again, $5 isn't nowhere near the $100 some.
Thank you for the use of your Lincoln logs.
Inflation is out of control.
If they come from Canada, it's even worse.
You're right. So Paul.
Oh man, is that what it is? Canadian trees? Is that
probably? Yeah.
That were
maple syrup edition.
That were cut down by Gary Robbins. Paul returns home.
There it is. Yes. Did you guys get it? Did anyone get him in last week? I wasn't here. If my suspension cost the streak,
I don't think anybody
upset.
I haven't listened back yet, but I thought that he got mentioned like right at the beginning.
He may have. Yeah, he may have. I don't remember. You'll have to listen, Ryan. You'll have to give something.
It would have been a good
Check
tie
it
if
out.
we didn't. It would have been a good tie and a missed opportunity too, since the original My Bloody Valentine
Very
was a
Canadian.
Canadian
Oh
slap.
yeah, that thing smelled like maple syrup after I watched it. Out. Okay, yeah. So he's chopping wood. And just a quick little montage away from the city, away from all that, and just trying to clear his head. But we know what he's
Exactly.
really doing. He's plotting. Um, so he returns home, goes back to work. The design for the new KABC building has been approved. Oh, good.
Whatever my wife wants, she
Yeah.
gets.
Paul's gonna take it over to Elliot, but he's like, yeah, his wife is the one who's making all the decisions. But we'll go through the motions. And that's wrong. But Jerry there, and she's like, "Oh, look who's here! Yeah, why don't you come over?" No, 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 I'm not fit company.
What a strong woman. She just like lets him do his
Give
thing.
some space.
Gives him space, goes back to her like successful career,
Yeah.
her life, and then like when he's ready to go, they move forward. Like I long for the relationship that these two have.
They were a match made in heaven, um, both off and on screen here, at least until the end. Spoiler alert.
Isn't that kind of how all relationships
Indeed,
are?
exactly. I should use that excuse when I don't want to go somewhere. Ah, oh, your aunt's having this holiday. You know what? I don't really feel like I'm fit company. Goodbye.
Put it on yourself.
Yeah, it's me. You guys have a great. I'm not gonna contribute anything, and that's sadly actually true. Anyway, Paul gets another unexpected.
We need to write a book, The Philosophy of
Oh,
Bronson.
That's right.
We need to take these
yeah,
thoughts and put them, it could blow up like the Chuck Norris facts
you're
did 20
very
years ago.
right. This is what I should be doing instead of typing up reviews of 1,000 reviews a week. But we'll get there one day. The unexpected visitor, it's Lieutenant Mankiewicz. He's tracked Paul down to the radio station. He went to his office. They said he'd be there. And he's like, hey, you know what you should do? You should come check out our mug books. It might help jar your memory. And again,
That'll really help you move
Paul's like,
on.
nah, there's no use. Because again, he's been through this. They had perfect descriptions of the guys who murdered and raped his wife and daughter back in New York. And what happened? Nothing. Those guys are still running free. So now it's time to get to vigilante work. So that evening, Paul finds his gun at home. He has it hidden away. He's like, time to get this thing out of mothballs. I'm going to drive downtown. I'm going to go to the thrift store. I'm going to buy me some vigilante gear. And then I'm going to find a room on Skid Row. And then I'm going to go out on the prowl.
He walked by a lot of missions.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie makes a big point to keep.
Teaser for the near future.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of missions in Paul Kersey's eye line while he was out to dispense some
Makes me
justice.
want Mission Barbecue, but that's neither here nor
Does sound
there.
good.
Oh, there you go.
He also gets his iconic
Yeah.
beanie.
I mean, yeah, it's like a whole like superhero outfit almost.
That's pretty
He
much.
transforms from Paul Kersey, architect, to the vigilante.
Punisher
He is
of
a
some
Punisher.
sort.
To the architect of vengeance.
Ooh. Death
Ooh. Now that would make a great movie
or
title.
like a subtitle, Death Wish 6, Architect of Vengeance.
Architect of vengeance. Let's do it.
Okay. So he's just
Crowd
kind of just getting the lay of the land. He's checking things out. Nothing happens yet, but we see where his mind is. So the next morning, he's back in his own bed, and surprise, who shows up at his house? It's Jerry. She's there for some of her clothes, and he noticed, like, oh shit, I left my gun right sitting on top of the dresser over there. So he gets up real quick and does a little sleight of hand, and gotta go take a shower. And then, again, to your point, Ryan, she's like, he's still processing. I'll let him be. I got my beautiful wardrobe, and I'm gonna leave. I bet you she got to keep all her clothes too.
Would be smart.
So when he hears Jerry leave, he goes to the phone, calls a locksmith, and ominous Jimmy Page music plays when he says he needs some locks changed.
Hey, Lucky. Come change these locks.
Thank you.
I just erased all the goodwill I built up with the vengeance
Yeah,
line,
you
didn't I?
sure did.
I'm back at
Well, 'cause
zero.
I was wondering when Bronson turned into Lucky the Leprechaun.
Yeah, it doesn't. All right, later that night,
Is Ryan Campbell Paul Rudd in I Love You Man, where every impression he's just doing an Irish voice?
it could be. It's late. He's not on his A game. Later that night, Paul is back on the prowl. But this time, we might get somewhere. But first, we see Jerry, and she's at home. And what the fuck is she watching on TV? It's the worst shit I've ever seen. Just three people dancing. The music is awful. What is this woman doing with her life?
The movie it does some weird things too with like rotoscoping for the TV shots. Like
Mhm.
I don't know if they thought that they couldn't film something on a TV and make it
You
distinguished. So there's like these
Right.
weird blocks that they try to like rotoscope some footage onto a TV
Mhm.
screen. It looks you probably couldn't pick it up back then, but like it looks kind of silly now.
She's just watching a horrible show. And then she's like, "Oh, well, this horrible show reminds me of a horrible thing that happened to my man Paul. Let me give him a call." But there's no answer, obviously, because he's out on the town doing his thing, and he spots Stomper after a parade of Hare Krishnas go by, singing and chiming their little cymbal gimmicks, and he's like, "Oh, this Stomper, what's he doing?" He sees, oh, there's some other guys, and they're shaking hands, and they're all bad people. And then he's like, oh, what are they up to? So he's going to follow them, and they go to this abandoned hotel. And this is an iconic scene, Chris. Well, I mean, this is quality writing. As
Yes, when he notices the
he
cross.
sees the cross on Stomper, asks him, "Do you believe in Jesus?" "Yes, I do."
Yes, I do.
"Well, you're going to meet him." That's very generous of Bronson, because don't you think this man should go straight to hell?
Well, I think Jesus would be the one to say, "Hey, how's it going? You're heading
is
to
that
hell."
how it works?
That's how it works.
The determination.
He's like, "Oh, hi." He gets all excited, like, "Oh, I didn't think I'd see you." Yeah. Okay, well, 1 down, 4 to go. Paul stops by a Skid Row room, hides the gun with some duct tape, and grabs some groceries, most notably some cereal, and avoids the party by the neighbors, which is exactly something I would do, 100%. If I came home with groceries and like my neighbors were having a party and they'd be like, "Come on over," I'm like, "Oh no, thank you.
I'm not good company.
I'm not fit company. I've got cereal to eat. I don't want this cereal to get cold."
I'm Paul Kersey. After a long day of vigilanting, I like to sit down to a bowl of frosted flakes.
Ah, nice time.
At least you didn't go with the Lucky Charms, Ryan.
He didn't have, like, he had Frosted Flakes.
That's right. He had frosted flakes.
Movie accurate. Jerry calls again, and she's shocked because Paul answers. Like, "Oh yeah, reporters keep calling here, so I just don't always answer. Sometimes I do. This time I obviously did. Oh, can I cook for you tomorrow? Oh, how about Friday instead? Oh, goody." So there we go. So now we know this is Thursday night, and Paul is back on the prowl, and he hears a scream coming from a parking garage.
Boom.
A place where you could probably always hear a scream, because parking garages are among the world's most dangerous places.
They're also one of the most echoey places.
Indeed,
so
that
screams could really travel in a parking garage.
Yep. And there's a husband and wife who are being attacked by that damn jiver, but he's got some of his other buddies with him. And the wife almost becomes rape victim number 3, winner. Like, he must have stopped himself, but he still managed to get the woman's top ripped off. So that pervert.
I have to imagine once they started hearing the blast and they were in there coming up with a plan.
So Kersey, he shows up. He starts shooting. which saves the day for that woman. Jiver uses her as a shield and then kind of pushes her off and runs for it.
Then decides he doesn't need one anymore.
Yeah.
He just takes a run
Yeah.
for it.
He's like, well, it's going to slow him down. So he just pushes her off, makes her run for it, but he's not faster than a speeding bullet.
Shot in the ass. He gets.
Yes.
Yeah,
But all together now.
right in the ass.
Oh yeah, in the ass. So he leads to a showdown. He goes across the street. Paul's seeing the blood trail. He's like, I'm gonna follow this bastard. And he gets in there. It's like another warehouse type place. All these boxes stacked up. And Paul's like, where is this guy? And the music is real cool. And there's frickin' Jiver. He's in a forklift and he comes barreling through those boxes, but Kersey's too fast for him.
We transitioned from one of the world's most dangerous parking garages directly into one of the world's most dangerous warehouses.
And Kersey, he's too quick, and just a great. This was great on the promo. This TV back when it was something worth watching, and I could watch it. Use this goodbye at the very end of their little Death Wish 2 promo. Beautifully done, and yeah. So, Jiver, you tried. You tried with a forklift. Even that didn't work. You get shot dead. 2 down, 3 to go. We cut back to the parking garage where Inspector Mankiewicz has shown up with the other cops, and he's interviewing the husband and wife. They're giving conflicting descriptions of the man who saved them. And
I like how the wife here, like, plausibly gives, like, the description of a normal person that's just not Paul Kersey. Like, and then the husband has to just
he
go.
has to one-upper.
He's all right. He's got blue skin and orange hair. Like, what the hell are you talking about, dude?
He said it was a big black guy with a red beard.
Yeah.
Or blue skin with whatever Ryan said. That may have been on the version he had, the Tubi version. And that's what
I was watching the Smurfs version.
Said, we've got
Papa Smurf Kersey.
We've got a goddamn vigilante on our hands.
That's a good line, too.
He was pissed. So the next day, he's meeting with...
There's one thing that cops hate. It's a goddamn vigilante.
Next day, he's got to talk to the commissioner about it. That's how serious it is. He's like, oh, didn't they have...
You're going to treat this vigilante the same way Mr. Wilson treats Dennis the Menace.
That's right.
Didn't they have a vigilante in Boston a few years? No, it was New York. Oh, yes, New York.
Oh, yes.
It stopped there. Let's find out.
Well, word travels because a lot of New York cops have to go fly out to L.A. to meet their wives that get
LA
jobs
has
out
the
there.
Computer. They have the computer.
They also have
They
these
can
like
look up vigilantes.
these big office parties because their wives moved out there for good jobs. So they go out there to shack up with with a buddy that was out there. So that's how word spreads from coast to coast about what's going on in different cities.
So we cut to New York, and here we go. He's back, baby. Lieutenant Frank Ochoa, Vincent Gardenia. Good to see him back, Chris.
Great actor.
He really is.
He's got something going on. He's struggling.
He's there. He's like, hey, superiors. You guys know that Paul Kersey now lives in L.A.? Oh, shit. Could you imagine if he's the vigilante out there?
They immediately go into ass covering.
Oh, well, if they catch him, he's going to be like, well, I don't know why NYPD let me go. So you got to go get him, Ochoa. And you got to kill this man before the LAPD gets to him. Holy crap, is that something I didn't see coming the first time I watched this film?
Isn't he out of jurisdiction?
Yeah, definitely. But the LAPD asked for someone from the NYPD to come, so...
That's right. That's their in.
It's like,
they know who they're sending.
So it's not out of the question, like, not strange that he's there. He's just fulfilling their request.
It is funny, like, he gets there, gets directly off the plane, talks to the LAPD for like 2 minutes, and then never interacts with them again.
Right? No. Next time Mankiewicz sees him, he's dead. Spoiler alert.
He's just in cabs for the rest of the trip.
So yeah, Ochoa lands. He meets with his reporter buddy Mike. We should all have a reporter buddy named Mike too, I guess.
Hopefully he's got a cabin.
Yeah,
in a
that
boat.
would help. I doubt it though. Reporters can't be making much money these days to have a cabin and a boat, especially a newspaper reporter. No, well, maybe. Anyway, he shares the story. Hey, do you know this? The story. This didn't make it to you on the computer. His housekeeper and daughter were killed, raped and killed. So, oh no, no. Which I was like, oh shit, this is probably this is him. How did the same shit happen to the same guy twice?
It does fit the profile.
So then Ochoa has his brief meeting with Mankiewicz, and I love the LA talk. Hey, babe, you're not holding out on me, are you? That's so LA. At least I think, at least from what TV and movies have taught me.
Not like New York with their hats and cigars.
Yeah.
And overweight detectives.
Right.
Coughing into their handkerchiefs.
They caught us cold on the plane, and that schmog isn't doing him any good.
That's right.
So then Ochoa shows up at Jerry Nichols' apartment, but he got there before she did, so he just let himself in with his police skills.
As cops do.
And he's just hanging out and falls asleep in her easy chair. So she's very shocked, obviously, when she returns home with her groceries. And it's like, hey, you know your man Paul? He killed 9 people in New York City. They were muggers, so we didn't charge him, and instead we just said, why don't you leave? But we think he's back to doing that here in LA. And he obviously doesn't listen to what I say, but maybe he'll listen to you, Jerry. So Jerry frantically heads over to Paul's place, but you can't get in because remember, ominous music, the locks were changed.
Ironically, she's going to need Paul's locksmith to do that to her place.
Right.
Since Ochoa just broke in there.
Or yeah, she should have had Ochoa go over with her, and he could have got her in there.
That locksmith's in some good business, man.
Paul arrives moments later, and where have you been? Oh, I was out with a man, a friend of mine. Where do you think I was? Killing muggers. What?
Bum, bum, bum. Wasting no time. Just dropping it right out there.
Kersey's like, whoa, but man, he can think on his feet, can't he? And he immediately discredits Ochoa, and then I know what to make her forget this whole conversation happened. Why don't you spend the night, baby?
That's right.
And Ochoa's outside.
Nothing shuts up a reporter like that.
Ochoa is outside, and he's like, yeah, my plan worked. I'm a genius. So the next day, Jerry's like, oh, I have a birthday party to attend, so I won't be able to see you tonight. Oh, that's too bad. Now who's keeping us apart, honey?
Usually the guy has the excuse the day after.
She's a strong, independent woman. She's got, yeah.
So that's like, oh.
She hits it and leaves
it. It's vigilante time for me then. But Ochoa figures, okay, I gotta keep an eye on Kersey. I got him to stop killing for one night, but we're gonna have to do a little bit more. So gets his boy Mike again, and he parks Ochoa's car out in front of Kersey's home. So Kersey's like, oh, I better go out the back way, which is very similar to the original Chris because he kind of uses the back exit to his apartment building.
But now Ochoa is onto it, and he's like,
yeah,
wait a second.
Yeah, I know. He
he
gave me the slip in New York. He ain't going to pull that crap on me here.
Mental chess going on here between the two.
So yeah, Kersey now has to catch a bus because he couldn't go with his car. Ochoa finds a citizen who's more than happy to help him. This woman is so excited.
She's been watching movies her whole life, just waiting for a cop to run up to her car and say, ma'am, I'm commandeering your vehicle.
She is thrilled. And this is why I believe I named her one of the unsung heroes of Death Wish 2 some years ago. Check it out on bulletproofaction.com. Kersey goes to his Skid Row place, gets on his vigilante gear, and he's got to catch another bus because he's got to find these last 3 muggers, rapists, murderers. And this time now, Ochoa, he finds a cabbie to follow the bus. And Chris, when Paul finds these remaining 3 thugs, they're doing something I would not have expected. 3 bad guys.
auditioning
Yeah,
for
what the
breaking.
hell was going on?
I mean, breakdancing was very popular. We were still 2 years away from Cannon's breakout hit, Breakin'. But the best that I could describe it would be a drug-induced
Hmm.
stupor. The people that are either like so high or so drunk that they're the ones that think they're kind of, getting their groove on at the party, and they're really the center of attention for all the wrong reasons.
I'll buy that. I'll accept that as a yeah, excellent.
They definitely don't seem to be worried about their friends that have all died.
No, do they even know? They have different. Well, those, yeah, I don't know. Well,
Well, some of them have been reported on
that's
the
true.
news,
They
so I would
probably do
assume.
know, but they're probably into so many bad things that it's like,
Somebody got him.
So after they're getting jiggy with it, they catch a bus and they're harassing the nurse on the bus.
Another
Yeah,
woman.
and Paul's like, just
Why does that lady even get on the bus?
yeah. Well, she
Like,
wanted to go home too.
I would have been like, I'll get the next one as soon as I get on.
So then Paul's like watching, but he's got the newspaper, so he's like hiding his face. So Nirvana, it's the remaining people. We've got Nirvana, Punkut, and Cutter. They get off at their stop, which is Point Furman Park. Kersey watches where they go, and then he pulls a little gimmick so the bus is stopped, so he goes. Ochoa's watching the whole thing from his cab. They pull up. He's like, all right, you wait here. If you hear gunshots, don't worry. It's just target practice, which is the dumbest fucking excuse I've ever heard in my life.
Rips a $50 bill
Right.
in half.
You want the other half, you stay here.
I'm not even sure if that would even work at that point, but
yeah. Some Scott.
Cabby seems fine with it.
And the thugs, they're doing some sort of deal. It's like drugs and guns and
just everything that's
right.
illegal.
And a guy with
a cornucopia of illegal activity.
Right. Let me open up my trunk of illegal activity.
He's got rainbow suspenders and a hat and all
some bootleg DVDs,
all the contraband you can ask for.
With that outfit, he might have also been a pimp.
You know what? He did have a pimp look to him. You're very, very right.
I think we call that. What do we call that? Like, what do they call it when you invest in multiple different things?
Diversify?
Yeah, he's diversifying his portfolio. That's what I was looking for. You need multiple income streams to really make it out west.
Exactly. If we had multiple income streams on this, we could buy Lincoln Logs, but we only have the one. So Kersey's watching all this from the trees, but he doesn't spot the sniper that's up in the tree watching him. But Ochoa sees it and, hey, look out. And next thing you know, it's all hell breaks loose. There's a big shootout. And we quickly find out two things that we really should have already known, being adult human beings. That is that boom boxes are not bulletproof, like this podcast.
They are not.
I would have thought back then maybe they were, because those were some honking things like them.
I mean,
and for all I know, they could turn into robots too around this time. So,
well, this one couldn't do either. And also not bulletproof, Frank Ochoa.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. But obviously before he eats a bunch of bullets, this was a nice precursor to Ed Lauder teaming up with Bronson in Death Wish 3, because now the cop that was after the vigilante now sees his point of view and is actually aiding him.
Or at least sees like, well, he's the lesser of the evil, so I got to help him out first, and then we'll deal with the repercussions. Rainbow Suspenders Man tries to escape, and he gets in his car, but Kersey is able to shoot him, and then the car. Oh, God bless movies. Like, God bless you, movies, because the car goes off like this little embankment and just.
It like rolls very slowly to the edge of the cliff, and then we get a hard cut to the other side of the cliff, and it just comes flying off the edge.
It blows up. He dead. Punkut gets shot in the abdomen. Nirvana runs away, and then we get Ochoa's classic death scene. Get the motherfucker for me, and then he says his "Our Father," at least starts to.
Endorsing vigilantism.
Yeah,
See that?
The cops show up. Mankiewicz sees Ochoa. Oh, I knew he was holding out on him. And then we get our one for the movie. because he calls him a poor bastard.
There
Ding!
it is.
1. Punkut gives up
2 rape scenes,
that.
1
See,
bastard.
that should be flipped around.
I mean, technically, it's 2.5 because we don't know what happened in
That's
that van,
true.
and we got
That's true.
the
That's
redheaded
still,
woman's top
definitely
ripped
still
off.
sexual assault.
Exactly. It still was.
Yes, for
it
sure.
Still was. Punkut gives up his boy Nirvana, aka Charles Wilson, before he dies. This is something that I've mentioned on the site before, and I found it almost unbelievable, Ryan Campbell, that Punkut knew that Nirvana, his real name was Charles Wilson.
You don't think that maybe they were tight and they reached that level of
Maybe.
camaraderie within the gang to
just think
use real names?
The thing I think of, just because from a world that we dabbled in, in the independent wrestling world, how many of those people would only know me as Chris the Brain? Like, they would have zero idea what my last name is.
That just establishes the closeness of their relationship, because you got to really get close to someone to know, at least know it. You're still probably not going to use it. Certainly not.
There's so many people that we worked with that I have no idea what their real name is.
Is Ron Mathis his real name?
It isn't.
Is Aaron Williams his real name?
It isn't.
Hashtag sign don't care.
Okay, we're moving on. You almost got it again for that one. The next day, I'm just saying they had to be pretty close, to your point, because there are people in my life that I saw weekly that I don't have freaking a clue one. Now, the people you mentioned, I know what their damn names are, but I'm talking about
well, that's what
other
I'm saying.
people.
Half those schmucks you reluctantly saw each week.
Don't be burying me on this program.
I'm talking about the Sorgites, man.
Oh, those bastards! I didn't even know they had a name. Back at KBC,
we're shooting now, people.
Yeah, nobody. You and I are the only people know what the fuck we're talking about.
You came to a movie review and a shoot interview broke out.
Back at KBC Radio the next day, Paul and Elliot are talking about sculpted angels blowing horns on either side. Your wife has expensive taste. And after the sculpted angels talk, he runs into Fred, played by Robert F. Lyons. I know, Toyman, you're a big Robert F. Lyons fan.
Not as much as Gary Robbins.
No, but who is?
Get a few in.
Robert F. Lyons. He was been in many a Bronson movie. He was also in one of those, at least one of those Angel movies, wasn't he? Am I misremembering?
He was in Avenging Angel. He played Lieutenant Andrews in Avenging Angel.
See? Sometimes I know what I'm talking about. And he was also in Platoon Leader with Duty. So, yeah.
You're also forgetting something else.
Oh, I am? Let me think about it. Murphy's
You
Law
Spot.
is one I always think about.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Tell me.
10 to Midnight.
Oh, of course. 10 to Midnight. Yeah, he does a lot of Bronson work. He may have been in Breakheart Pass, but maybe not.
He was in a lot of our old favorite shows, too. I know he was in at least one episode of Incredible Hulk.
He was probably on a Kojak. Doesn't he look like a Kojak guy?
Let's check Robert F.
Okay, here we go. Toyman,
IMDb
everybody loves when we stop to look things up. Makes for great audio.
Oh, he was on the Monkees.
This IMDb lookup is brought to you by Squarespace. If you're looking for a website.
So he was in 2 episodes of The Hulk. He was on Quincy. He was on Fantasy Island. He was on Chips. He was on Falcon Crest with Lorenzo Lamas, which I actually just sent you a clip of that the other day. He was on Magnum P.I. Yeah. He was on Simon and Simon. He was on Knight Rider. Of course. He was on Walker, Texas Ranger in 1996. What a great year.
Naturally. No Kojak, though?
Let's see. What's the most recent thing he did? No Kojak. The
Okay.
most recent thing he did was in 2015. He was in a movie called The Burning Dead with Danny
That's not
Trejo.
going to smell too good. All right. Well, Robert F. Lyons,
Looks like something I would have found at Dollar Tree.
Quincy. I should have went with Quincy instead of Kojak. It's all right. Anyway, he gets the police scanner from Fred. And now Paul Kersey's in the know. Now he's got the inside scoop. Now he knows what the police are plotting because they're going to try to get to Nirvana, but Kersey wants to get to him first for a variety of reasons.
He needs to come to Kersey
Mankiewicz
justice.
is in the undercover van monitoring the whole thing when somebody's like, hey, did one of our guys just jump on the roof? How the hell should I know?
Just doing a crap job.
What the hell?
Really
Somebody
on
give me
top
a
of it.
cigarette. I don't know. So yeah, Kersey does manage to get to Nirvana first, who's spending some time with some ladies in this apartment building. But Nirvana is quick and he gets Kersey with his knife. So Kersey's kind of has no choice but to sit it out as he runs out onto the street. And he just,
Like a drug-fueled rage.
he was on a mind-altering drug known as PCP, gentlemen. Which is maybe what he was on the other night when he was dancing, too, to your point, Chris. He thought he was like fucking Danny Terrio. Or Denny Terrio. Who's the...
Danny Terrio, yeah. Excellent
Thank
reference.
you. I almost got confused because you just said Danny Trejo.
Because we said
I
Danny
was like- I
Trejo.
was-
Yeah, I'm sure Danny Trejo did some disco
Oh, you
dancing
better
at some
believe
point in
he
his life,
did.
too.
You better believe it. So yeah, we get the he's just mowing over cops, and they can't shoot him because the streets are crowded. Meanwhile, I didn't see freaking.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, there's like nobody standing around, and it's L.A. cops, which notoriously in history are,
Yeah.
you know, not really keen to really give a damn.
Yeah,
who's
why don't you
around.
say everybody hit the deck because we're about to shoot?
Right.
So yeah, there we go. Now this is what I, rewatching this, and I've seen this movie dozens and dozens and dozens of times, and I'm like, wow, there's still so much to go. And I looked at the time, and I'm like, there's only 20 minutes left in this movie, and boy, are we gonna get something here. It just boom, 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 because we get wounded Kersey getting home, almost busted by Jerry, who shows up.
We get like a little Spider-Man 2 bleeding on the carpet kind of thing, trying to keep it on the wraps.
Yeah, first he bleeds on the hardwood floor, and then he goes and stands on the carpet.
Right.
So it's like, all right, you know that you're bleeding, and you'll like where you're immediately going to leave a stain.
Yeah, know why? And we're going to see it here in a little bit. He got so used to having a housekeeper. He didn't have to worry about stuff like that. And that's coming into play here in a moment.
Let's see what Rosita cooked up for dinner.
It's Rosaria.
Rosaria.
God, this woman died, and you're just disrespecting her by calling her Rosita. God, you know what? I'm gonna put a half a demerit.
Show some respect for the dead, the
fictional
dead.
So yeah, so we go. He avoided that situation. We go to the trial, and Nirvana is going to be remanded to the McLaren State Hospital for psychiatric evaluation.
Oh, that's horseshit.
It is horseshit. Paul Kersey is not a fan of that sentence. But guess what?
Movies and shows love doing that to try to like get heel heat in a way. Is let the disgusting murderer get off by claiming insanity. That's like SVU's favorite trick.
Yeah, they use it. So McLaren, guess who's doing a story about Dr. Clark of McLaren State Hospital? Our girl Jerry.
She's on the case.
So she's like, this is the doctor who could cure these people. Bullshit. And she's like, oh, well, why don't you come down and see? And so, yeah, they go down there. And like the doctor's like, I want more people to know about my work. Whatever. And Kersey uses it to snag an ID badge.
Brilliant.
He hit the...
I have a feeling that's going to come into play.
The plan is coming together. So now he's like, okay, I'm going to do this next Wednesday. I'm going to kill this motherfucker. And then I got to get the hell out of the country. You know what? I know what to do. So he invites Jerry to dinner, proposes to her, has this big romantic Wednesday night after you're done working, come on over. We'll hop on a plane, head to Acapulco, get some heat, and get married.
Probably the best response to missing your significant other's birthday ever. She's like, yeah, my birthday was last month. You forgot about it. And he's like, how about you marry me, bitch? And that's it.
Again, that was very cruel. It was during his mourning period, so that would have been real shitty for her to be like,
His mourning period. Is that why he was bleeding on the carpet?
Jeez, you know what? You're disgusting. This show is going off the fucking rails. Anyway, this is a Charles Bronson movie, and you're trying to say Bronson has PMS. You, sir, could be in line for a suspension.
Let's bring it back with one of the more underrated lines.
PMS, the punk murdering syndrome.
There you go.
Jesus.
One of the more underrated lines of all the Bronson lines is when he gets that's a $9 kiss because how expensive the champagne is. Yeah. Good stuff. Suave.
$3 an ounce. Yeah, he's good. Bronson is a smooth operator.
He definitely is.
So now he's gone to the like Kinko's or some place. Maybe it was just
some good old whiteout. It was
just the library. And
I do remember using whiteout. I got to be one of the last generations in school that used.
You know what? Going back to the, I don't know what the statute of limitations is on this, but going back to our time in wrestling, we had the state athletic permit to run shows every week. You had to have one for every show, and I would just white out the date and and I made like 1 million copies of it, and then after a while it's like nobody was even looking, so I just stopped falsifying documents.
Take that red tape.
Take that bullshit, athletic commissions.
Damn the man.
State
for
of
wrestling shows. Come on, folks.
And then everybody got MRSA. And
what? No, nobody got MRSA. MRSA me with this bullshit you're saying today.
I ran a clean locker room.
I
thought you were going to say you used whiteout on the booking card because you never know who the hell was going to be there.
Yeah. No, I would. Well, I mean,
that thing was written in pencil for sure.
A lot of times it was. Yeah. So he's making his fake IDs. He messes up the first time, and he crumples it up and throws it. Thinks he gets it in the garbage can. He doesn't. Again, now if Rosario was still working there.
He didn't yell Kobe. That's why he missed.
If Rosario was still there, she would have picked that up, and this would never have been a problem. But
she would have read it too, and then kept her mouth shut.
Did. So he gets to the McLaren State Hospital, posing as Dr. Peter Carter. And then he fools the guy working the gate, Mr. K, a very famous, familiar face. Mr. DePetrillo?
Oh, you're passing this one on to me? You're passing the Charles Cypher's background on to me?
I sure as hell don't know.
Now, do you think that he was in an episode of Kojak?
He could have been, yeah. I could see him on Kojak. Look him up. But, obviously he was in The Fog. Pretty sure.
He was in
Halloween. He's the cop. He's in, a lot of Carpenter stuff. Escape from New York.
Assault on Precinct 13, the original.
Was he on Kojak, though? Have you looked that up? Or Quincy?
I am going to check his television filmography right now.
Yeah,
give me one moment.
The weatherman in The Fog.
He was on Cannon.
Oh, yeah.
He was on Barnaby Jones. He was on The $6 Million Man and The Bionic Woman, playing the same character on both. Maybe. He was on Starsky and Hutch. He was on Charlie's Angels. He was on Wonder Woman. He was on The Betty White Show. He
wishes he was on Wonder Woman.
He was on The Dukes of Hazzard several times. He was on Benson.
Oh, I love Benson.
He was on Dallas, one of my favorite shows of all time.
Just making the rounds.
He was on Night Court. He was on 21 Jump Street.
I haven't seen that one. Something to look
Let's
forward
see.
to.
He was on Renegade.
Okay.
He was on California
Oh
Dreams,
boy, yeah.
one of my
That's
favorite
a good
shows of
one.
all time.
It looks like he got an Easter egg in Halloween Kills back in 2021.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I try to
Evil
forget
dies
about those
tonight.
damn sequels.
Evil dies tonight.
He was on Seinfeld. He was on ER. He was on Jag.
Okay.
He was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He was on a short-lived show that only I would remember called Hyperion Bay, which starred my hero, Mark Paul Gosselaar. It was on the WB.
Did he just like live in a closet on this on like the studio lot, and they would just knock on the
Mhm.
door?
So his last television role was 2001. His first was in 1972 on Canon. So he had a 30-year run
Nice.
on
Good for you,
television.
Charles.
And then you go back to his movies. We mentioned pretty much all of the John Carpenter stuff, but he was also in A Force of One. And
Mm.
two of my favorite 80s movies that don't get talked about enough. He was in The First Major League and he was in Gleaming the
Oh
Cube.
yeah, in Major League. I do remember that. And I've seen Gleaming the Cube not too long ago. That was the first time I ever saw it.
Gleaming the Cube is an
God
excellent movie.
damn, nobody's been on Kojak tonight. Well, I never watch Kojak anyway. So anyway, yeah, he tricks Mr. K, and while we're talking about TV shows, he uses like Sean Spencer's psych skills of observation because he sees Mr. K has his book, Property of Mr. K or Robert K or whatever. And he's, I was told that Mr. K was working tonight. Well, that's me, and he uses it to get him on. You're not on the schedule. Well, I'm here. I'm already going to be late for dinner. Come on. Oh, all right. So he lets him in. He's like, get some.
He rolled a 20 on persuasion check there for all my D&D fans.
He gets a
Come on.
he gets a interview room for him, and he's like, oh, what's that back there? Oh, just the old electroshock therapy equipment. We don't get to use that much these days.
Oh, just the old death machine back there plugged into the wall that's ready to go at any moment's
Right.
notice, you know.
And so he's like, all right, I'll go get Charles Wilson, aka Nirvana. And then he's like, all right, if you need me, ring the bell. I'm going to go have my dinner and enjoy some Henny Youngman. How big of a Henny Youngman fan are you, Chris?
I'm a big Kenny Youngman fan, especially because he was in Goodfellas in that scene in the restaurant. But not to sidetrack it, but we do have someone from Death Wish 2 that was on Kojak.
Was it Kevin Major Howard?
It was not Kevin Major Howard.
Who was it?
It was Rosario, the housekeeper.
You know what she was also in? I remember getting this text one evening from my sister. She's like, I think Rosaria is on this episode of The Golden Girls. And indeed, it was her.
But was
She
Rosita?
is listed as being on the Golden Girls. She was also on Falcon Crest, Knots Landing, MacGyver, Law, another show that does not get talked about enough. She was also on Quincy, so we have another Quincy role. She was also on Starsky and Hutch. This is that's back when they get a lot of people from Central Casting.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these supporting players were straight from Central Casting. But we do have a Death Wish 2 Kojak connection,
Thank God.
so your love for that bald lollipop sucking bastard.
I've never watched.
Is,
Well, I wouldn't say I've
and
never.
here.
I don't. Maybe I should start watching Kojak instead of rewatching the A-Team for the 9 millionth time. Maybe I should get into Kojak.
No, there's nothing wrong.
I
with
know,
that now.
and that's why it keeps happening. So where are we? Yeah. So Mr. K.
Do you remember the Kojak remake?
Did it have Ving Rhames in it?
Correct. Ving Rhames was Kojak, and it was actually 20 years ago. It was 2005.
See, I guess I did remember it. I don't think I watched it, but I knew it was a thing.
Well, we'll have to do a 20-year anniversary podcast for the Kojak remake.
Damn it. No wonder our numbers are in the shitter. All right. All right, Kojak. So yeah, Mr. K, he goes with Henny Youngman. Henny Youngman's wife said she wanted to go on vacation and she wanted to go somewhere where she'd never been before. So Henny told her, try the kitchen.
Because the housekeeper's
Oh,
dead.
all right. So
Poor Rosita.
Rosaria. So there's an interview room brawl. So this McLaren State Hospital suddenly becomes one of the world's most dangerous hospitals.
Boom.
And Nirvana has like a scalpel in his shoe, as psychos usually do, and he stabs Kersey with it. So that kind of causes, he draws first blood
Quite a few times.
Yeah, he's going at it. He's fighting for his life though.
I mean, so he had that thing ready to go. Is the assumption that he was going to attack whoever interviewed
he's not
him next?
Right in the head.
Yeah, so he kind of saved someone's life.
So Nirvana, then they get into the back area where Nirvana takes a big swing, misses, punches right through the electroshock equipment, and Kersey powers it on, and we get an electrifying death of Charles Wilson, aka Nirvana. Mr. K obviously hears all this ruckus, and he's in the doorway as Kersey, bleeding, just sits down, and he's like, "Hey, killed my daughter, raped and killed my daughter." He's like, "Yeah, I read that story. I'll give you 3 minutes to get out." It's no way is it 3 minutes, but he does do the classic thing that so many. Paul Kersey's gotten so many passes over the years. And Kersey goes off. He gets to his motel, seedy Skid Row place, tries to patch himself up. There's not much you could do. Makes his way home to meet Jerry, but there's one thing or another on the traffic is always worse when you don't need it to be. Jerry gets there.
Well, that's like the third time we've talked about LA traffic on this podcast this year too.
LA traffic, am I right? Anyway, Jerry arrives. Paul isn't there yet. She flips on the radio to hear the KABC report that Charles Wilson was murdered by a man posing as a doctor. What? That's... Oh. Then she sees that crumpled piece of paper under the desk, and it's a fake ID. And
yeah, she didn't have to do a lot of investigative journalism to find out. She
puts her ring in there, and she leaves, and we never hear from her again. Paul arrives moments later. His plan did not pan out. Cut to a celebration at KABC. I guess because they decided on, I don't know what they're really celebrating, but and then they're going to have another celebration for the new building party. So Elliot's like, "Hey, are you available? What else would I be doing? Boom, bam, shadow in the city. Here's some more gunshots and credits. Holy shit, Death Wish 2. I love you." Ryan Campbell, your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely interesting in the context of watching, those first three films and how this, to what Chris mentioned, this is the bridge film. Still tries to do some interesting things like the first one did, especially seeing how laser focused he becomes at the end on getting that revenge and how it ends up kind of costing him everything, costing him his relationship. So not like a lot of other movies at the time where it's glorified in the act of vigilantism and, the hero ends up, with everything that he ever wanted and his revenge and everything. He does have to give something up to get what he wants here. So, and of course it all leads into, for those of you around that age, if you saw the electrocution scene and it made you think of Home Alone, just wait until Death Wish 3.
Good point. Toyman.
Excellent movie. Great movie. I mean, there's no secret that this is one of my favorite film series. Obviously, 3, again, being one of the greatest films of all time, but Death Wish 2 is a solid sequel. Some people complain that the series kind of goes on a downward spiral from the first one, but I disagree. It hits its peak with 3, and this was a nice segue from the more stoic, more reserved nature of the first one. And this one, you kind of started seeing that canon mold coming to life.
Death Wish 2 is such an interesting entry for me because this is a movie that has blown my mind numerous times. Number one, we've touched on it. I saw the basic cut that was out there on DVD and everything, and then it popped up on Netflix many years ago, and I'm like, oh, cool, they got Death Wish 2. And again, I have the DVD sitting right over there on my shelf, but it's right here. I'm gonna just play it, and that's when I noticed things weren't the things that rape stuff was longer and like was weird. Like I don't.
I remember
I'm
you
like,
texted me like, do
do
you
you
remember?
remember? I think I texted you. Do you remember nipple licking?
It was like, I was going to say, it was specifically
Because
the nipple
I don't
licking.
remember nipple licking in this.
What a weird text to get, but that's just what life being your friend is like.
Yeah, and then
So let's see. I'm gonna compare runtimes because it's currently on cable because it's on the MGM. They used to be at the Epix
right,
channels,
Yeah, it's on
and
Tubi
it's
as
saying
well.
that the
That's why I watched it.
runtime there is 1 hour 29 minutes and 5 seconds. Now I'm gonna check Tubi.
Tubi was the non-nipple licking cut. Because that's what I watched it on.
Let's see.
The other cut has been, I've seen it outside of just your Blu-ray.
yeah.
Like,
It was
it's
on
aired.
Netflix. So I think it was on Prime as well
Yeah.
at some point.
I was gonna say, I think on either Prime or one of the other times it got bounced around, it was that version as well.
It's weird with these streaming apps because, I've talked about it. I think we talked about it last week when you weren't here, Ryan, but or maybe it was a couple of weeks ago when you were here. But I know Pluto TV sometimes with some of their movies, they've actually shown the edited for basic network broadcast versions of R-rated movies.
Right.
Like they did a chopping mall marathon one year on the Shout Factory channel, but it was the version with like the guy's Playboy magazine blurred out and the swears bleeped out. And then one night I was talking to Brain, we were texting back and forth, and I'm like, oh, Neon Maniacs is on. Let me put it on. It was like 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. And it was literally like the dumbed down version that must have been from USA Up All Night 30 years ago. So it's possible. Like there's a whole different world with what these streaming apps can get their hands on.
I'm pretty sure
But
though,
the
Brian,
ads
didn't
on
you say that you even had a DVD version that was the original cut? So this was something that seemed to not just be like a TV edited version, right?
The TV
Because we went down a whole
the
rabbit hole with this.
DVD version is the version you saw on Tubi.
Yeah.
But then when they
So the Tubi version, I'm looking at it right now. The Tubi version is 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 53 seconds. So it is 12 seconds shorter than what's currently on cable right now.
yeah, it's not much of it.
Well, there's definitely more than 12
it's
seconds though in
yeah.
that Blu-ray version.
They
dragged that sucker out.
So there was that. So that was my first like, what the hell? This is two different. And I'm like, I know like the UK cut more out, but I'm like, well, but I would have had the US version, wouldn't I, on the DVD? But maybe not. But then many years later, talking about some Diginet action, Charge TV before it was just freaking procedurals. They would show action movies, and it was a movie. Matt Spector was over here. We were having a movie night. I flipped over. The movie was over. I flipped on just TV, and there was this Death Wish 2, and it was like Mike and Ochoa, and it was like way longer. I'm like, what the hell is this now? I have never seen this footage in my life, and apparently that was like the network TV version, since they had to cut way more out when it's on freaking ABC, and they put this other shit in. And that's been released on Blu-ray since. So this movie is like, again, you watch it the first time just in the pure form that I saw it on either AMC or when I got the DVD. Wow. Fucking Death Wish 2. Then I see that there's more graphics. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I feel like I'm watching porn here. And then all this other extra shit. Like there was longer with Mankiewicz and Kersey at the TV station or the radio station. Just, stuff that you could see why it got cut out of the movie because it did nothing. But you could also see why the network probably was like, well, we need to fill the time. And that was before they would just be like, oh, just add more commercials.
Now, I just consulted my favorite reference tool, the Internet
Okay.
Archive. And if you gentlemen are so inclined, there is on the Internet Archive the Death Wish 2 hybrid extended cut fan edit, and I will read the description.
Oh,
This is a fan edit project and not in any way an official product, completely nonprofit. Okay, that's just the disclaimer. This version contains all the extra TV
there
version
you go.
scenes while also re-editing the 2 rape
Oh,
sequences to be more effective than more effective than the gratuitous, over-the-top, offensive in the worst way uncut version of the
okay.
sequences. It's a mixture of the R uncut and TV version footage for the 2 sequences, removing most of the gratuitous leering nudity while still being an uncomfortable viewing experience where you feel bad for what the victims are going through as intended and can't wait for the rapists to get what they deserve. It's in between the R-rated and unrated versions of the scenes in terms of explicitness and packs a bigger punch now since the rated version was cut too much, while the unrated version goes too far, practically titillating viewers, particularly in Carol's assault scene, in how it's edited together, leering at the nudity and
Holy
such.
shit. Get on with it, writer. My gosh.
So did
Lord.
he take a movie called Death Wish 2 and try to add everything in but dumb down the most explicit
Apparently so.
sequences? Because
That's what it
that sounds
sounds
like.
like.
What I did is I took the unrated version and I took out all the
Hey,
things that caused it
whoever
to be
this
the
guy
unrated
is, if you're out there, people, and you meet this man, do not ask him what time it is because he's going to tell you how to build the fucking clock. Okay?
version. For real. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
Don't was it it was
tell
Vinegar
this
Syndrome who
guy.
released Death Wish 2
On
not that
the
long ago,
4K
right?
Yep, they had the 4K.
Yep,
Yep.
the uncut.
I did not. That's not the one. I watched the Shout release. I think they had done one first. So I have at least 4 different versions of Death Wish 2 on Blu-ray, and still probably have a good 1 or 2 DVDs of it.
I have the solo on Blu-ray, and I have the set that has part 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, I've got and listen out there, Vinegar Syndrome. I need me a 4K Death Wish 3, and that's the other thing. Then when all these versions of Death Wish 2 were out there, I'm like,
Oh, what
could
exists?
there be
A holy
could
grail.
there be more Death Wish 3 out there somewhere?
Is there a nipple licking?
All right,
version
I
of
don't need
Death
nipple
Wish
licking,
3?
but I mean, if it's there. But listen, I just want more Death Wish 3 because, we're not getting any more Bronson. Okay,
I would make the trip up north just for that
Oh,
first viewing.
could it?
Brand new Death Wish 3
Oh
scenes.
my
never
word!
before seen.
I mean, that would be huge. That would be absolutely huge. So, if something like that exists, come on, Amazon, open up the MGM archives and let's make this stuff happen. So yeah, Death Wish 2. I think all 5 Death Wish
It's
movies.
the movie that keeps on giving.
Yeah, all 5 of the Death Wish movies. Really, I mean, they're all connected, obviously, but they all also just have their own feel to them, and to what we've been saying here. This definitely had some of that 70s drama, but also had some of that grindhouse, and it hadn't quite gotten to that all the way over the top 80s violence, which we would get and then some in DW3, the greatest film ever made. All right, guys. I love Death Wish 2. I'm glad we did this podcast.
Kind of the underrated.
Oh my god,
Death Wish
this is a
star.
long one, huh? Yeah, that's what she said.
It was. Yeah, we had a lot to talk about. I mean, all those Kojak segues.
That's true. It's a good 15 minutes of this show is about looking up people who may have been on Kojak and just keep coming up short until Rosaria.
Death Wish 6, the Kojak
till
connection.
Rosaria cleaned up for us. And got this.
Thanks, Rosita.
I'm
besmirching the dead Ryan Campbell.
Disgusted with Ryan Campbell right now. Let's wrap this up before I suspend him again. Social media, folks, you can follow us. You can let us know your favorite Kojak episode if you wish, or tell us about your favorite Kojak guest star.
Or if anyone out there has insider info.
Or if you were on Kojak. I mean, that's pretty fucking awesome. You tell us. At Bulletproof Pod
Come tell us about your Kojak
Twitter,
experience.
At Bulletproof Pod on Blue Sky, at Bulletproof Action, basically everywhere else.
Did you polish Telly Savalas' head like a bowling ball?
Oh,
Second bowling ball reference for the podcast, too.
I wonder. Nah, I'm not going to say it because that's disrespectful. All right, FTC baby, Figures Toy Company. Are the Kojak figures coming out?
The
There was a
Kojak figures are
Kojak
not
figure,
coming
wasn't
out,
there
but
back in the day? Didn't Mego make a Kojak?
I'm
Time
not
to look that
sure.
up. Um,
Is there an IMDb of figures?
I think there was a Kojak figure. There was definitely.
I typed in Kojak action figure and nothing came up.
That's a.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait. Oh, wait a minute. What
That's
is
a.
this?
Yeah, there is. It's right here. Fully. He's
It's by the Excel Toy Company.
okay.
It kind of looks
Lex
like,
Boo.
Luthor.
I was gonna say like a knockoff
Oh,
Curly.
okay. That pinstripe suit just was screaming Lex Luthor to me. But yeah,
But never mind Death Wish. If you've got a Christmas wish, a birthday wish, any type of wish for some amazing toy products, please check out figurestoycompany.com. All of the new Ultimate Wrestling figures are in stock. The classic referee, the modern referee, the female referee, the commentators, the managers, the event staff, plus the Legends of Professional Wrestling, the line that is basically headed up by Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express, but also includes New Jack, the Blue Meanie, Alex Wright, so many others, also the rising stars of wrestling, and talking about Mego, the remaining stock. There's still some stuff left from DC Comics, Scooby-Doo, Hanna-Barbera characters from Saturday morning cartoons, all of those retro Mego style action figures. Find them all now at figurestoycompany.com. Please go check us out and please support us. Thank you very
I'm
much.
glad you brought up Jim Cornette because I did want to send my condolences to Mr. Cornette. He lost his dog, Harley Quinn.
Yes.
That's very sad.
Oh,
Yes,
I
I
didn't
saw
hear
that
that.
earlier. Yes.
So very sad. And to try to not end on such a note, do any of those figures you mentioned are they bald? Like the referee
New
or
Jack
the
is
no?
bald.
I'm talking like about the generic figures, like security
There
guard.
is, yes, there is a bald head.
You can make
Yes.
that Kojak, everybody. So just keep that in mind. You can make your own Kojak. He could be undercover as a
If you want Kojak to attack
right.
Hulk Hogan, you can
He
make
could be
that happen.
undercover as a security guard or evil referee. Um, Next time here on the podcast, we're going to be celebrating a 40th anniversary of another cornerstone of this empire that I've built, and that Cannon built, more importantly. Chuck Norris in Missing in Action to the Beginning is going to be turning 40 very soon, I believe in early March. So we're going to cover that next time here on the Bulletproof Podcast. Very excited about that. Chris kind of
We'll be in action to talk about
and
missing in action too.
Chris teased it earlier, but in March we're going to be covering some Jeff Wincott for the first time in the little Mission of Justice. There's another big 40th anniversary as well, The Last Dragon in March. So that's another
Yes.
one on the schedule coming up. And I know at least one or two things we're going to cover in April, but we'll save that for another time. I don't want to give everything away on this episode. This extended edition of the Bulletproof Podcast.
Gotta see some teasers for the future. Keep them coming back for
Keep
more.
them coming back for more. Indeed, Ryan Campbell. Any last things you want to talk about?
No, just like I said, Captain America coming this weekend. Hopefully, everyone has a wonderful Valentine's Day with your loved
That's
ones.
already happened.
What the Oh yeah, you guys are hearing this. Well, if you screwed up, then go make it right. We're also doing Invincible at least for another week. If you want to see us keep covering Invincible, go check it out. But other than that, it's going to start picking up. We got Andor season 2 is going to be coming up soon. Last of Us season 2. It's going to be exciting summer.
There you go, Toyman. Anything else?
By the time this drops, Cobra Kai will be a thing of the past. So please read the review. Since it'll be newer episodes, I'll keep the spoilers to a minimum. So, I would encourage you to obviously watch it before you read it. But if you have just skimmed the episodes, it should be pretty safe to review. But I'll be pouring my emotions out into that one. And then go back and check out some of my recent reviews. And then we'll see what's coming up for March. because with Cobra Kai ending, it might be time to go back into the old school kung fu rabbit hole and see what type of evil bastards I can watch get their asses kicked.
Ooh, I love it. All right, folks. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, stay tuned for more of the Bulletproof Podcast.